All right, it's time to give Enzo Maresca a grade. All right, Chelsea fans, let's jump back into it. It is time to talk a little bit about Chelsea during the international break. It's a bit boring, so you got to come up with something different so we don't have the matches to react to. So what I thought I would do is give a too early grade for Enzo Maresca. That's right. The guy's been here, 2.5 months at this point. Plenty of time for us to give him a grade and judge him, don't you say? So to be fair, a lot has happened since Enzo has came to Chelsea. A lot of players have come. A lot of players have left. We've played 5 matches. Not a bad run for us to kind of assess some different things. So I'm going to look at the signings that he's made, the loans, the players that he's let leave, the exits as well, who we've sold, as well as results. And then we'll talk about like his tactics, his style, and his management. So these are how we're going to break down Maresca in terms of how he is doing. And then I'll give you the grade at the end. So kicking off with signings, he signed Pedro Neto, Joao Felix, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, Philip Jorgenson, Renato Veiga, Mark Gu, and Jadon Sancho. I left some players off because I don't really feel like they're his signings, right? We still have 2 sporting directors calling the shots. So I'm not going to put like Tosin in front of him, and especially some of the younger players like Anselmino, who came and then went on loan. Doesn't really seem relevant. So those are the players that he's brought in. Overall, I'd say decent, right? I think Pedro Neto could be very good for the team. Right wing was definitely a position that we needed help in. He's young, fits the profile. I'm up for that. Like I feel pretty good there. Joao Felix, very much on the fence, right? The fact that we had to sacrifice Conor Gallagher to get him as an attacker, we'll see. He had a really good turn and move outside the Crystal Palace box, and then absolutely duffed his shot as it rolled into the goalkeeper in Henderson's arms. But there are some bright spots. I just haven't forgotten what happened the first time he came. Like, look, we interviewed him. We've sat in the same room as Joao Felix, and we talked about it was hitting the post, hitting the crossbar, like not enough over and over and over. And it took him months to get his first goal. Now, granted, he's already got it, which is an improvement, no doubt. But like the productivity we got from him was really, really low. So let's see. It's a different environment, different team. I just have a lot of concerns. I think that he needs to prove himself based on what we saw the first time around with Joao Felix. With Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, my gosh, is this not the most obvious signing? I think for me, it's a system signing. He knows what we want to see. He had a bunch of goals and assists in double digits last year, is playing as like the number 10 in press, getting in as like a second attacker. So we'll see. But with our squad depth and the players that we have, is he really going to play over some of them like an Enzo Fernandez? I don't know. I mean, definitely not an Nkunku, right? So where does he fit in all this? Like, I don't know. It just kind of seems like a role player for the squad, almost like a player's coach for him at that point. So like, I'm not thrilled about it, but I'm also not bothered. He's probably not going to make that big of an impact for the team, assuming everything's going well. Anyways, next up, you've got Phil Jorgensen. Very uninspiring signing at this point, right? He's had one good game, one bad game against Servette in the Conference League. So like, great. Look, I did the goalkeeper video last time. There's a crisis at Chelsea in the goalkeeping department. If you didn't know it, go check it out. Probably linked in the description. Renato Veiga. I'm actually kind of excited about this, right? He can play as a 6. He can play as a defensive mid. He can play left back, left wing. Like, there's some flexibility with this guy. He's got good size. I just haven't seen any minutes coming from Belgium to be like, yeah, he's hot. Like, he can come in. Like, is he at Malo Gusto's level? Probably not. But to me, that's now the new level, right? Young, coming from France. Good luck, my guy, because Gusto is cooking, and we love what Malo's got going on the right side. You got Mark Gu. Again, is he really related to Maresca? I don't know. But if this is our backup striker signing, no offense to him, 18-year-old from Barcelona who barely played, what are we supposed to expect from him? Not much, so he gets a pass. And then the big one that just dropped, Jadon Sancho, technically a loan, but with an obligation to buy, coming from Manchester United, left winger. Look, stack them up. We have got so many attackers. We better score 300 goals this season because, to be quite honest, there's no reason with all these signings and attack that we don't make it happen. So anyways, overall on the signings, a B minus, right? Like there's some good players in there, but there's also a lot of like, nah, right? I'm not that excited about it. So B minus. Now loans. Now who did you let go? But clearly the club have an eye on them or couldn't find a market for them. So letting Petrovic go in turn for Jorgenson to come in, don't see it. I'm not impressed by this move whatsoever. Petrovic proved that he can play at the Premier League level. Jorgenson had a half a season in Spain with Villarreal where they bled goals. You didn't sign a better player than Sanchez. What was the point? So bad decision in my eyes. Andre Santos, bad decision. Need him in midfield. All right. We absolutely could use him. The fact that we let him go again, I don't see it. At least he's going to get minutes and be crucial for Strasbourg, but he could have been crucial here for Chelsea and gotten significant minutes. So bad move. Trevoh was a loan because they couldn't find a way to sell him. So this is bad on the club for not finding a permanent solution for a player who's absolutely given everything to the club since he was a child. Now he's on loan. For me, great. That means Trevoh, there's a chance he comes back next season and plays. I'm all for it and isn't part of the team. So for me, great. For the club, you failed at doing business. Take that how you want. And then Kepa going on loan, like, okay, fine. 1 year extension, go on loan, like, great. Keep the saga rolling. Not bothered. I don't think anybody was as well. So on the loans, I'm giving that a D, right? The loans, I think what we put out there and what we brought in does not make sense. So then you get to the exits, right? Conor Gallagher leaving is going to be salt in the wounds for us. He's probably going to love Atletico Madrid, playing under Simeone, but was seen as surplus to requirements. What he's really seen as is an injection of cash. Let's just be real clear. Unfortunately, we turn around and spend it all on Joao Felix. Yeah. So interesting trade there. Raheem Sterling, technically kind of an exit, right? Anyways, going to Arsenal. It's good for it that was a solution to the situation. What's bad is we're still paying almost all of his wages, right? What are we paying? 200 out of 300,000 a week, and there's no loan fee. Bad business from the playing standpoint. Great work getting him out. He wasn't going to be there. Overall, with the loans, and again, I guess with the exits, I'm giving that like a C plus, and I'm only saying it's Connor down, Raheem up. That's how I'm balancing that one. So overall, when it comes to the signings, between the signings, the loans, and the exits, it's a C plus from Maresca and the team, right? We are not tangibly better than we were before the summer transfer window opened, and I think that's bad business for the club. All right, next up, let's look at the results, okay? So we'll start with the Premier League. Obviously, season opener, a 2-0 loss to City. Maresca said we played well. I think a lot of the fans feel like it was just flat. We had some moments, but overall, City were just way better than we were, even with the rotated squad. Not a great result, but you kind of saw it coming, right? Let's be honest. No one was really surprised by that result at the end of the day. Wolves 6-2 win. Well, I'll tell you what, tale of two halves. First half, feeling real bad about things. Second half, absolutely turned it on, gassed them, buried them, no problem. But again, the wobbles in the beginning, I think, are the problem. But to see this team put another team to the sword is obviously a huge, I would say it's a huge statement piece for this team to show they can go do it. I don't think we've really buried teams in the past. So to go and get 6 goals is really a strong indicator. So then the next one would be obviously the Crystal Palace, the 1-1 draw. Feels like a loss, to be quite honest. The fact that we couldn't score more than one on Crystal Palace and we gave up counterattack options, and the goal we did give up was a poor clearance that obviously fell to the wrong player in SA, which he curled in on the back post. It's just not a great result, right? You got to beat teams like Palace, especially with their kind of, if you start this season, I think they will do well in the Premier League. But that was ours to win, and we just did not go and do it. So with that all being said, the fact that we've won one, lost one, drawn one, it has to be a C because we didn't beat Palace. If we beat Palace, I'm probably giving a B plus at that point, but we didn't, right? I can accept the City loss, but Crystal Palace it really drags that down for me. So when you look at the Conference League, we split, right? 2-0 at home, and then we lose 1-2 away. In that second match against Servette, I mean, the team didn't show up. A lot of poor play from the team there. It wasn't great. Obviously, it's smashed in, right? We're playing 5 games in 3 weeks right away, so there's a lot going on, including travel. but it's a mentality thing. If we're trying to build this team ready for Europe, this was not a good sign. Again, heavy rotations. I can kind of see some things. So with Conference League, I'm going to give it a B- just because we got through it, but not the most convincing. Winning 3-1 on aggregate, 3-2 on aggregate is a little too close for comfort. And no offense to Servette, but no Chelsea fan really knew who Servette was going into this because we don't watch the Swiss Super League. So it is what it is. Swiss fans, you can get mad at me. That's fine, but that's the reality of the situation. So overall, with the results, going to give it a C+, but again, not good enough by any means across the two. And so the last one, which is kind of a mishmash of a bunch of different things, right, would be like his tactics, his style as a manager, and then like how he's managing the squad. Just going to kind of bucket these things together and just talk broadly about everything going on. So with Maresca, right, he's got an extreme tactical system. It's very rigid. We know that, right? It's Pep Jr.'s the whole idea, right? It's like Arteta was the assistant coach with Pep. Hey, we just went and plucked him. It's the same idea. U21s at City, won the league at Leicester, and he has a very specific style. There's not a lot of pragmatism within it. You have to do these unique things. I mean, I just watched the 4-4-2 video talking about Leicester, and like they bring their goalkeeper out to be a fourth defender because the other outside back is tucked in to be a center mid. I mean, what are we doing with all these things? Like, can it work? Maybe, but you're asking these players to play an extremely high possession based game. And I haven't really seen us go long when we do suck teams in. And that's my problem, right? My problem is the inability to break with the long ball. Now, I will own this and be like, yes, did we hit a long ball and score off a counterattack? We did. We absolutely did. So it's not impossible. We just haven't seen it. But that's Maresca's job to coach and build up with the team. So obviously, it's going to be tough on the players. It's going to be a huge adjustment. The only plus side is he seemed to have gotten Leicester to figure it out pretty quick last season. But will that translate from the Championship to the Premier League? That's where we don't know. We're going to wait to find out. So the next one is that we're obviously prone to mistakes building out of the back, as we've seen, right? Whether it's Caicedo, who's unable to turn away from pressure, sloppy touch from Enzo, just getting pressed out on the wing, so there's nowhere to go for Gusto and Cucurella. There are gaps, and if we don't learn right away to recognize that and skip a line, then we're going to be in trouble, and we're going to give away stupid counterattack opportunities to the team when we're stretched and in these weird positions. Because remember, you pretty much play with the back three in possession, right? You got your two center backs, one fullback, and the other fullback's pushed up. If we can't find the lane to where we have a mismatch or an overload, we're going to be in trouble. And again, as you'd imagine, early season, we're a little bit in trouble. The other one I'd say is we look lost in possessions when we're in the opponent's final third. Maresca talked about this in the Palace press conference after the match, saying they were a low block. We should have done better. Correct. We should have, but we didn't. He's talking about Jadon Sancho being the key to unlocking this. Like, you got to have a system that works, not a player. Because if Jadon is hurt or tired or has an off game, is this Eden Hazard like all over where we're backpacking on him and it's up to him to win the game? Like we saw under Maurizio Sarri, like that's not good enough. We have to do better when teams play a low block. And we are back to being slow in possession, circulating the ball around, and eventually dumping a dumb cross in that goes nowhere. Nico Jackson doesn't want on his head. Palmer doesn't want on his head. Joao Felix doesn't want on his head. So what are we doing? It's got to be better. What I will say, we can look very good on the counterattack. This is where Chelsea have proven their ability to be incisive. Obviously, we saw it in Wolves. It's just obviously we saw a little bit against City, but there is, I would say, potential, right? We are seeing the light, what could be with this team. Again, as they build more, as we start to play more together, we'll see that. But, I think that is a bright spot within this group. The other one I would say is a concern, early fitness, right? Enzo's, he's coming off his surgery in the summer of the knock, and I think he's fine. But like Malo Gusto, right? He went down at the end of the last match. Wes Fofana pulled out of the France team. Moises Caicedo has played almost every single minute, and he just looks gassed. And Kunku is with limited minutes. I think Palmer came back from the England national team. Like, we have to be careful and cautious. Like, thank gosh, like we were able to bring them back from national team camp, and we can give them a little bit of extra rest and training and things like that at Cobham. But early days, my guy, we're 5 matches in. We had a long preseason, covered the entire United States, played another preseason match against Inter Milan at home. Like, there's a lot of minutes to be had by these players, and it's going to continue. So we'll see how this goes. We have some early fitness concerns, no doubt. And the biggest one here is he getting the best out of our players? I'm going to give you my yes list and then my no list. Yes, Malagusto, Noni Madueke, Cole Palmer when he plays central, and Nico Jackson, right? Looking good with those players. That is only four players out of a squad of, 40, but he's only going to count 23. Now, who I don't think he's getting the best out of, Robert Sanchez, Levi Colwell, Wes Fofana, Cucurella, aka the defense, right? I don't think the defense has looked very good. Let's see, Enzo Fernandez, Mykhailo Mudryk, Nkunku. These are players that have way more to give, whether they need to be changed positions, whether he needs to work with them more specifically in situations and training. They have a lot more to give than what we're seeing right now. And there's more, but I didn't want to say yes or no to every single player. I want to give a little bit of room in the middle to be like, yeah, we'll see. Also, have we seen enough of Neto, Joao Felix? Like, players like this? Probably not. So don't want to go give a grade, but there's definitely players that we are not getting enough out of. And then there's credit where credit's due. Hey, Cole Palmer's starting the season off just like he ended. Fantastic. Smart on Maresca to enable him to continue to be great. Last 2 things I'd say here. His press conferences, he's fine, right? He's not overly animated, but he seems to like know what he's talking about, always has an answer, shows some confidence. So I'm like, okay, fine, right? Let's see how the season progresses. It's at least not a concern. I remember with Graham Potter, everyone said that, like, he has no fire, he has no fight within him. I mean, sure, he's no Antonio Conte, right? But like, he seems poised, collected, and like knows what's going on, and he has like hands on the press conference and where he wants to take it. So I'm fine with that. I will say, and I'm going to end it on a positive here with Maresca and be like, I like the mentality. He has a strong mentality. I think the answers are good. Wasn't good enough against Crystal Palace. Obviously Wolves was easy. He said City was good, but I do think, he's even been direct with Mykhailo Mudryk saying it's in situations he needs to be better with decision making. It's easy to observe those things and know those things. Where he's going to prove how good he is as a manager is now fixing them. He can't keep talking about the same problems over and over and over, which is what we've seen the last 2 seasons as Chelsea fans. So fix it, Enzo. That is your job. Overall, I'm giving him a B-. All right. I think that's favorable based on the results, based on the signings, the way the squad looks. I think B- is a bit generous. I was very much on the edge, but I'm going to give him the benefit here. All right. It is still early days. We'll do this again. We'll see how the season progresses, but so far, with a little bit of upside is how I'm looking at it. Let me know in the comments what you think of Enzo Maresca so far this season. What do you think about the squad he's built? What do you think about how they look on the pitch? Anyways, until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Check out the Paul Canaville Foundation and keep the blue flag flying high.